Oh, Steve. Think we may have lost him on the line as soon as he started speaking about that. That's pretty funny. Let's just simply call him right back, and keep it cool. Because, you know how we do here. Keep that truth going.
Yeah, I want to apologize for you, Vickens, with the phone, but I'm having problems since you've been trying to call me the last 10 minutes or so, and even this morning I had a problem with my computer. I guess this interview is so hot that people don't want it to happen.
Oh, it's, no worries. We're right back on, so we can just continue.
Well, so at that point, I turn around, and I'm wearing the billboard, the walking billboard that you had seen me wearing. So I calmly took out my cell phone camera and took photos of both the director and the assistant director. So right after that, I put it up on YouTube at the time. And matter of fact, there's a video people could see. It's called Sindoni Camera. And you could see the assistant director. The director himself, Mueller, I saved his photos for a later date just in case, he wanted to keep playing and he's playing with the wrong guys. So they kind of backed up after that. I then called the FBI office there in New York to speak to the assistant director 4 days in a row in February, just a week after I met you, but he refused to return any of my phone calls. And basically what I wanted to know is, why are you following me? Why am I a person of interest? But I think the Barack Obama video that I put out there was kind of like too hot to trot for the FBI, because I accused them of doing the background check, and if you didn't know what was going on, shame on you.
Wow. So that's pretty amazing. So they were right on your tail as you were.
Yeah, and then 2 days after that, I'm standing on Broadway in Flushing in Brooklyn when my brother was in the hospital, in Woodhull Hospital, just before he passed away. My brother Robert. If you're listening, Robert, I love you. Yeah. And so I was on my way to see my brother, and right above my head were 3 helicopters, 2 black and 1 with a presidential seal. Now, I don't know about you, but when you look up and you see that, the presidential seal in the helicopter, and you just put out a video that the man who's in the White House might be impersonating, Osama bin Laden, 2 and 2 adds up to 4.
Definitely. So that they were following you that whole day, or?
Oh yeah. Well, the whole time I was in New York, Vickens, from the time that you saw me up until the day I left in April, I had been hounded almost on a daily basis.
Wow. That must have been unknowing, to say the least,
Well, what's the interesting thing was to track me, they even went as far as taking the intercom bell in the apartment house that I lived in, and tying it in with the telephone wires in the basement, so that way they could have the intercom opened up the whole time so they could hear everything that was going on in the apartment. So I had some interesting things happen, and then when you call the telephone company, they said, we don't know how in the world they got wired that way. Well, they would definitely not send a man out to rewire your intercom to your telephone. That had to be done by someone else who really wanted to know what the hell I was up to, you would think.
Definitely. Wow. So,
but it's all good, because I figure that, if that's where the taxpayer dollar is going, and all I'm doing is telling the truth, then why haven't you arrested me? So, which is the interesting thing, So, but yeah, that story is hotter than a powder keg right now, and a lot of people, the thing is, it's so strange. It's strange in fiction, Vickens, so a lot of people don't want to believe it. But if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it probably is a duck.
I know, people just have to stop being so naive in a way, don't you think?
Well, people don't want to believe it. Like Adolf Hitler said that the bigger the lie, the easier it is to believe. And matter of fact, and I will preface it with this: Benazir Bhutto, who went on Frost Over the Year in 2007, said that the real Osama bin Laden was killed by Omar Sheikh. 6 weeks later, she was killed in Karachi, Pakistan. So, it's out there. And most people who can connect the dots will realize that this is a make-believe war on terror, so that way they can take away the laws and rights of the individuals of the United States. And at some point, people got to wake up. If you don't wake up, like Tupac said, you get smacked up.
Right. And when you when you say wake up, like what do people have to wake up to? Because we see our family and our friends, and now we even talk to people online a lot more because of Facebook and Twitter. And it doesn't seem like people are really that metaphysical, or spiritual, whatever one wants to call it.
Well, I think what's got to happen is people are going to have to tune out to tune in. And I think that what we need is what I call a soft parade. We have to go within and realize that we're all connected. You're my brother, she's my sister. We're all one. The universe is inside of us. We are a co-creator with the source. And once we realize that, we'll realize that when we say something wrong or hurtful to someone, that it's a reflection of us. And when somebody does something to us or something atrocity to all of us, then we have to pray for this person that they get right with themselves. And this is my belief. You're the judge and the jury on your past deeds or misdeeds or whatever you've done. You've got to have a life review that you have to deal with, because I believe we come back. We reincarnate, we come back, and if you come here and not do what you're supposed to do, then there are penalties for that, and then you're going to have to come back and pay some dues, like B.B. King says. You're going to have to pay some dues. So when I see atrocities, I bring them forth to light, because they know not what they do. Right.
So
and that's why these people who were trying to hurt me when I was in New York, I even had cars trying to run me over a couple times, and or people follow me. And finally I said, you know what? I'm not the enemy to one of them. I says, I'm your brother. He looked at me. I smiled. I said, I love you. I says, I know you got a job to do, and I got a job to do. I said, just make sure your job don't conflict with mine. and the guy looked at me and laughed, and he realized, he had respect for me. I said, I don't know what they told you about me, but I'm not who they say that I am. I said, I'm looking out for you and for your kids. The guy looked at me. I said, you're a lot younger than me. I said, I'm looking out for you and your kids. I said, so that way you can get yours when it's time to. Like I said, because if guys like me, they might not be there for. There's not guys like me to be whistleblowers. I said, I know you're getting a paycheck. So one guy told him. I said, but why don't you get a real job, go to McDonald's or Burger King and learn this phrase. Would you like fries with that shake, Mr. Sindoni?
Right.
The guy looked at me like perplexed, like, you know what? You need to find out. How do you accept money under these pretenses? I know jobs are hard to come by, especially in the private sector.
Right. Yep.
With unemployment at 10%, on the books, and like probably 40% across the board, how's that change working for you? Do you have any change left in your pocket? I doubt it.
I know people gotta just keep it real. Like they go. The same, they go to work and they still struggle, no matter how hard they work and no matter how many hours they put in a week. Like, a person can, put so many hours into work and making money. Like, and some people don't put any time.
The American dream has become the American scheme. Who can do the least to get over? And you find out the harder you work, the less you have. Parents, the kids are by themselves. The parents are out trying to do what they can do, but there's no way to bring in more than you can bring in there. And if they take, what do you have left? So it's a sad situation where people now are getting desperate, and this is the time that people need to band together and say, if we don't like what's going on, we need to change it. For example. If at least 7 people together, meditated and prayed about, World War II not happening, they could have affected the outcome of the World War would have not happened if only 7 people collectively, had a prayer group. So what I'm saying right now for your listeners out there, if you don't like what's happening right now, get together, fellowship, and put some meditation direction, focus on what it is you want to change, and the people that you want to make those changes, send them out the love, send them out the ability to understand, so that way they change the way they're behaving, change the decisions that they're making, so that way we're not all affected by it, because we all are a collective. So my point is we all need to get together and say, you know what, I'm going to send you, the ability to get things right, because I know you're a good person, but you're a little, confused right now, and you're listening to the wrong direction, so we need to get you with the program. That's the real change. Because we are the change. Like Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change. We all need to be the change, not talk about, making something happen. Making something happen, like James Brown said, talking loud and saying nothing. No, we need to talk loud, and we need to accomplish something.
Right. And, take all this info that we've learned and amassed together and start sharing it and, really, just like you said, accomplishing something and creating the change, because it's out there. We pretty much know what to do. You've uncovered a lot of truth about Lumeria. If you want to just let people know what that's about real quick, that may not know about that.
Well, it's interesting. In 2007, I was looking for a screenplay to write. I had just written 3 comedies. I was looking for a screenplay, and it was on the internet, and I found an interesting story that I stumbled upon. It was about the legend of J.C. Brown. So, becoming fascinated by it, I decided I was going to spend a couple of weeks in the New York Public Library to investigate the legend. Basically, for the audience, I'll share with you what it was about. It's a baffling story about a man by the name of J.C. Brown, who appears in 1934 at the age of 67 in Stockton, California. The old-timer, he spins a tale about a lost treasure that he had found 30 years earlier in 1904 while employed with the Lord Cowdray Mining Company of England, and he tells this to the editor of the Stockton Record newspaper. So here's a man, now he's retired, shows up in the editor's office of the newspaper in 1904 and claims that he has found a tunnel that leads to an ancient civilization that has massive treasures in it. So this is pretty strong that this man shows up, at the editor of a newspaper. So here we are. This is a top story, waiting to happen,
Yeah, right.
So when I continued reading, J.C. Brown, after telling the story to the newspaper man took Brown to meet a museum curator of the Hagen Museum named Harry Noyes Pratt. Harry Noyes Pratt then gave Mr. Brown a list of people who might be interested in his story, and one of those men was John C. Root, a retired printer who lived at 1784 North San Joaquin Street. So now Brown meets Root. Root takes him to his home, and gradually they put together an organization purpose of participating in an exhibition and exploring Brown's cavern that he found in 1904, where Brown claimed that he discovered a tunnel in the Cascade Mountains leading to relics of apparently a lost race under Mount Shasta.
Wow. Where'd you say where's that at again?
Well, Mount Shasta is in California.
Okay, wow.
So now he's got prominent people together. They held meetings, Vickens, at John Root's home for about 6 weeks. And Brown's original story expanded that the meetings were then held not once a day, but twice a day. The followers grew to about 80 in number. So now he has a newspaper editor, a museum curator, scientists, retired printers, and solid citizens of Stockton. And all of these people believe that the cavern that J.C. Brown claimed to have found led to the lost race and continent of Lemuria.
Wow. So for everybody out there, there's a lot more to this earth than you know.